Hi everyone, good afternoon. Let's start this session. First of all, thank you for taking the time to join today. I really appreciate it. I know it's a busy day for most of you, so I will make sure this session is worth for you. So today we are going to talk about something very practical, AI in security operations, and more importantly, how we move from noise to actual decision. Because if you look at most security environment today, there are no shortage of data. There are alerts, logs, events, everything is visible. But even after all of that, one thing is still missing, clarity. And that's exactly what we are going to explore in this session. So let's quickly look at how we are going to go through this. So we will quickly walk through these areas, understanding the current SOC challenges, and how AI is helping improve clarity and decision making. And towards, we will also see a quick demo of how AI actually works with modern SOC. All right, before we go ahead, just a quick introduction about myself. I am Harsh Radaria, currently working as a senior SOC analyst at Sadba. For the past few years, I have been primarily working in security operations, handling day-to-day monitoring, incident response, and SOC processes. A big part of my work has been around managing 24 into 7 security operations, so dealing with alerts, investigations, and real-time incidents. I have also been involved in building and improving incident handling processes, making sure things are structured and actually work when needed. And along with that, I have worked on SIEM and SOAR implementation, mainly from a practical hands-on. So whatever we will discuss today is coming from real experience, things that we actually see inside a SOC environment. All right, let's start with something simple. There is a shift happening across almost every organization today. Security operation is not just a technical function anymore. It's becoming a business responsibility. Earlier, security was mostly handled inside IT teams, kind of in the background. But today, it goes for beyond technology. It actually affects how the business runs. At the base of all this, we have the SOC, security operations. This is where everything happens: monitoring, detection, response, and most organizations already have this in place. They are monitoring systems, detecting threats, responding to incidents, and this is happening continuously 24 by 7. So, from an operational point of view, security is active, it's running. Now, look at the environment where this SOC is operating. It's very different from what it used to be. Today, we have cloud, SaaS, APIs, and people working from everywhere. So everything is connected, everything is distributed, and everything is changing all of the time. So yes, it gives flexibility, but at the same time, it makes the environment much more complex to secure. So the SOC is no longer watching a few systems. It's watching a very large, continuously evolving environment. And this is where things really change. Security operations now directly impact business outcomes. It impacts revenue because incident can stop operations. It impacts reputation because once trust is lost, it's very hard to get it back. And it impacts compliance because regulations are getting stricter. So what happened in the SOC doesn't stay in the SOC anymore. It's move up and it hits directly the business. So security operations is not just about managing alerts anymore. It's about protecting the business. Now, here is the interesting part. In most organizations today, visibility is not really the problem. In fact, a lot of investment has already gone into tools, monitoring, and dashboards. Organizations can see what's happening across their environment. But even with all this visibility, there is still something missing. There is a gap, and that gap is clarity. At the first level, we have data visibility. There are logs, alerts, events happening all the time from endpoints, applications, cloud, network, everything is generating data. So, from a visibility point of view, nothing is really hidden. Everything is being captured. But the challenge now is not collecting data anymore. The real challenge is understanding what that data actually means. And this is where things start getting messy. All this data turns into noise. There is too much volume, there is no clear priority, and very little context. So everything starts looking important. Every alert feels like it needs attention. And security teams are consistently busy for reviewing, checking, going through alerts. But the reality is, not every alert actually matters. And this creates a pressure. It creates confusion and it slows everything down. And this is where it started affecting decision. Decision becomes slower and sometimes not even clear. Because when there is too much noise and not enough context, it becomes really hard to decide what to act on first. So visibility exists, but clarity doesn't. And without clarity, decision making becomes weak. So the problem is not the organization can't see. The problem is they can't clearly decide. Now, if clarity is missing, then the obvious question is where exactly it is breaking. And to understand that, we need to look at how decision actually happen inside a SOC. Because decisions don't just happen instantly. They go through a process, step by step. And the strength of that process decides how strong the final outcome will be. And this is where the gap starts. This is what I call the decision gap. So everything start here. Detection. This is where alerts are generated based on activity across the entire environment. And as we saw earlier, detection is not the weak point. In fact, it is working very well. But the challenge here is volume. There is a huge number of alerts coming from all kind of events, and most of them are surface level signals. So decision gives us input, but at a very large scale, and that itself start creating pressure. Now, once alerts come in, the next step is analysis. This is where teams try to figure out what actually happened. And this is where things slow down because this process is still very manual. Team are switching between tools, pulling data from different places, trying to connect everything. It takes time. There is friction and a lot of efforts goes into just gathering information. So instead of moving toward a decision, the team spend most of the time just trying to make sense of the data. Now, even after analysis, we still need to understand the risk. And this is where it gets even more tricky. Because now the question is, what does this actually mean? It is serious or not? And here, context become critical. But context is limited. Data is secreted. And connecting everything takes time. So even after all that efforts, there is still uncertainty, and without clarity, confidence start dropping. And finally, we reach the decision. This is where action is supposed to happen, but because everything before this is slow and unclear, decisions also become slow and sometimes inconsistent, which means delay response, different action for similar situations, and overall higher risk. So when you look at this whole flow, it becomes very clear. The issue is not detection. The issue is how well this entire chain supports decision making, and that it is the real decision gap. So the problem is not seeing threats. The real problem is deciding what to do about them. All right. So now we have clearly seen where the gap is. The question is, how do we fix it? And this is exactly where AI start making a real difference. Not by replacing the sock, but by strengthening how decisions are made at every step. If you look at the current state, the challenges are already clear. Too many alerts, a lot of manual efforts, data secreted everywhere, and decision getting delayed. And the important thing here is these are not separated problems. They all are connected, which means we need a structured way to fix them. So the shift starts here with single clarity. Instead of looking at everywhere, AI helps focus on what actually matters. It filters out the noise, it brings the important signals to the front. So teams are not overwhelmed anymore. They know where to look. And that alone changes how the process begins. Once that clarity is there, the next step become much faster. This is where investigation escalation comes in. Instead of jumping between tools, AI brings everything together. It connects the data and builds a complete picture. So instead of spending time collecting information, teams can actually focus on resolving the issue. And then comes one of the most important part, context. Because data alone is not enough. You need to understand what it actually means. AI helps enrich the data, connect it to behavior, and even to business impact. So now it's not just activity, it's insight. And that makes decision much clearer. And this leads to the final shift, decision confidence. Now decisions are faster, they are more consistent, and they are based on structure understanding. So instead of uncertainty, there is a clarity. Instead of delay, there is action. And that's where the real value comes in. So AI is not changing the process. It's making every step stronger. So decision become better. Okay, now we will see how Sadbar Soak AI helps in security. Uh, Here you can see Sadbar SOAK AI dashboard. On the left side, you can see multiple type of IOC, just like an IP addresses, file hashes, domains, which is found in recent attacks. And here you can see the input field, where you can input uh, any type of prompt. What you have to get back to the AI. You can ask like incident, investigate IP, check has SOC metrics like last 30 days, last 24 hours alerts, and much more things. Let's say we ask investigate recent IPs. We found a recent IP is 185.220.101.45. Okay. Okay. Here you can see the right side. we have already connected with our AI, VirusTotal and Abuse IPDB, which is threat intelligence platform. Here you will see uh, the Abuse IPDB score is 100%. And bottom of the box, you can also see waiting malicious, which means VirusTotal malicious score is 18. Okay, we will wait for the AI response completed. Okay, now we move on top. Okay, here you can see we ask investigate this IP. So the AI gives us a IOC summary, which means this IP is identified as a high risk and listed as a multiple threat intelligence feed. And also it gives us an reputation analysis, which means what is the IP address, and the IP address belong from which country, what is the ISP, what is abuse IPDB score, um, what is the virus total finding, and also it gives a assessment. This IP threat assessment is high, and also it gives an attack pattern. Okay, and also it gives us an recommended action. So what we have to do to block this IP to secure our environment. Okay, now we ask some other questions, just like an SOC matrix last 30 days. Okay, also you can see the right side. It gives us a short summary. In this summary, you have to see response time, which is MTTR, MTTC in average, MTTR and MTTC in hours, and also you can see here top rules, which is detected in SIM platform, and also you can see MITRE tactics, which is also top 5 tactics, and also you have to see here top source IPs, which is coming in our SIM tool to performing any malicious activity. Okay, let's wait for the complete AI response. Okay. We go from the top. Okay. Here you can see the numbers of MTTR, MTTC, and also you have to see here total alerts in last 30 days. And in this total alerts, the 15 alerts are critical, and 21 alerts are high, and 24 alerts are medium. And also it gives us an executive summary, then how many alerts are come in last 30 days, what is the MTTC average, what is the MTTR average, and also it gives us an response time analysis, what is the time of MTTR, MTTC, what is the industry benchmark, and also it gives an severity distribution, which means how many alerts are critical, how many alerts are high, how many is medium, how many is low, and also it gives top attack patterns, which is from Matra attacks, and it gives us an alert volume trend. You can see here March 28 from the 10 alerts are happened, April 2nd is 8 alerts are happened, and between this date 5 to 7 alerts per day. And also it gives us a SOC efficiency score and top 3 action item. You can ask to AI multiple things, whatever you want to ask AI, and it helps to a faster response for any type of incident, so we can take a faster decision. Okay, now get back to the presentation. Okay, now if we step back and look at everything together, the real question becomes, what does this actually change for the business? Because security is not just about operation anymore. Its value is really measured by how well it supports the business. And this is where AI-driven security start showing real outcomes. The first impact is efficiency. Things simply move faster with better clarity and faster investigation. Incident response become quicker. Teams are not stuck doing manual work all the time. They spend more time making decisions and less time just handling data. So the same team can actually handle more without extra effort. The second impact is risk. When things are identified early, they can be controlled early. So incident don't grow into bigger problem. Organizations are able to contain issue before they spread, and that directly reduce overall risk exposure. So security becomes more proactive, not reactive. The next impact is decision quality. Now decisions are not based on guesswork. They are based on clear context, clear information. So decisions become faster, but also more consistent, and this build confidence, not just within the SOC, but also at the leadership level. And this is where things really connect to the business. Security is no longer working in isolation. It aligns with business priority. Leaders get better visibility, and decisions are made based on actual business risk, not just technical signals. So security becomes part of how the business thinks and operates. And finally, we see the financial impact. When processes become efficient, cost naturally goes down. Resources are used better, and most importantly, security investment starts showing real value. So instead of being seen as a cost, security starts becoming a value driver. So AI is not just improving how security works, it's improving how the business operates. So if we step back a moment and look at everything we have discussed, this is the journey from noise to decision. And it's not just a technical shift, it's actually a change in how organization operate and respond to risk. At the starting point, most organizations are dealing with noise, too many alerts, signals coming from everywhere, a lot of manual efforts, and no clear priority. So even though there is a lot happening, it doesn't really turns into action. And that's where most SOCs struggle today. And this is where the shift begin. AI bring structure into all this. It filters the noise, connects the data, adds context, and makes things easier to understand. So instead of working with scattered information, teams start working with clarity. And that leads to the final outcomes, decisions. Now priorities are clear, context is connected, responding are faster, and actions are more confident. So security operations are no longer reacting. They are actually in control. This is the shift from noise to decision. Now let's make this a bit more practical. So far we have talked about concept and challenges, but this is how it actually looks when we apply AI in real security operations. These are some of the capabilities we have been building towards the future. First, real-time IOC investigation. Instead of going to multiple tools and checking IPs, hazes, or domains manually, you can simply ask the system. It instantly pulls data from source like Abuse IPDB, virus total, and gives you a clear answer in plain English. So instead of switching dashboards, you get a direct understanding or whether something is risky or not. Next, next is something very powerful: narrative attack timeline. Instead of looking at raw alert, the system actually reconstruct the full attack as a story. from the first activity to how it evolved to the final impact. So instead of figuring things out step by step, you directly understand what happened. This makes investigation much faster and easier. Then we have SOC metrics on demand. Instead of manually creating reports or dashboards, you can simply ask for things like MTTR, alert volume, or trends. The system calculate it instantly and even explain what it means in simple terms. So leadership doesn't just get numbers; they actually understand the impacts. One of the biggest shift is natural language interaction. You don't need complex query or dashboards anymore. You can just type something like so alerts from last 24 hours or investigate this has, and the system understand the respond like an analyst. So the barrier to using security tools becomes much lower. And the finally AI assisted threat intelligence. This combines live threat intelligence with your internal detection and gives you actionable insights. Not just what happened, but what you should do next. This significant reduce investigate time from hours to minutes. So this is where everything becomes together. Less efforts, more clarity, and faster decisions. Okay. Uh, so I'm happy to take any questions. Okay. Then thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate your time. That's all from my side. If you would like to connect or continue the discussion, feel free to reach out. My details are here. You can would be grateful to stay in touch. Thank you.
A great session, host. Thank you, everyone.